Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. And if we're looking and sounding a little bit different, that's because this is my first video filmed on my new little Canon camera. Very excited. I can now see myself by the viewfinder, and I've already started to see myself look up and just not look at the camera the whole time, so apologies if that becomes a thing. But anyway, today we are reviewing I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Julie Siegel and Kimberly Jones. So this is the book here. This is the book, anyway. So I'm reviewing this. This is an ARC or a proof, I can't remember. It's an advanced readers edition. So I have this. I had the pleasure of getting this at YALC when I went back in July, and it is very good. So there you go, you can just turn it off now. No, I'm joking, don't turn it off please, you need to know why, it's really good. So I'm going to be reviewing this. This is out until October this year, and it is a YA book focusing on kind of race relations and racial tensions between a group of people in America, and it follows the story of two young girls, a black young girl and a white one, and how they basically have to rely on each other throughout the course of the whole novel to basically survive. So I'm I hope if I could actually speak. So I'm reviewing that today. If that sounds something very interesting, then just keep on watching. Following the story of Lena and Campbell. Lena is a young black girl and Campbell is a young white girl who's come over from a different state into this new school, into this new area that is a lot more ethnically dominated in comparison to the old one that she went to. So it just kind of follows this one night that they have at school after a fight breaks out basically, and they have to like trust each other and use each other to survive throughout the whole night after the fight breaks out, after police come in, after there's riots. And it's just very intense as to what these girls have to go through, from a standard football, well, yeah, American football match, all the way to like the end of the night when they finally get home and it's like they've gone through riots and whatnot. But it's a very good, very intense story. The amount of how big it is, a lot goes on, and I am in awe effectively of how much they have included into this novel. It's amazing. The beginning I'd say was just a little bit slow for me personally. I just kind of didn't see really where it was going, and I was just thinking, am I actually going to like this? Like, is it actually going to be something that I want to read and continue? But then as it kind of got through a few chapters and it kind of things started happening and the two characters finally met, and then it kind of clicked and I was just hooked straight away. It's my dodgy click. It just clicked and I was like hooked. It was amazing. The beginning, there's quite a lot of colloquialisms in it, just kind of the language is integrated to appeal to the youth, to people who are younger and who tend to kind of speak with more slang. So there's like phrases where it don't cost you nothing to walk away, so there's no, they drop the G's and stuff, but that's purely, I can see the technique is just to accurately represent each character and the environment they would have grown up in and that sort of thing. But personally I don't speak like that, so it makes it a little bit uncomfortable for me to read, but I can see how it appeals to a wider audience of 14-year-olds and up. Like, I'm 21, so this is definitely not aimed at me per se in regards to the language and the writing style, but I can see where these colloquialisms do fit in creating a narrative that can be associated with a wide group of people who use those colloquialisms and those slang words on like a daily basis. So I can see the appeal there. It's just something that I struggle with because I personally don't speak like that, so I just kind of find it a bit off-putting. But I found that there was actually less of that as the story progressed. It was kind of heavy towards the beginning, but then as the story progressed, there was less of them. I think that's why it made it a bit easier for me to read as I went along. So I think that this is going to be a very, very successful novel, purely because it's just so real. Like, as I said with the language, it's just so normal. The kind of day-to-day stuff that you would miss if you would transfer to schools, stuff that you would be uncomfortable with if you're talking to someone who had transferred schools and feels like they're better than the area that they're in. So the actual environment that both authors have created is a really normal, just modern environment that we're in now, especially with like race relations and the way schools work and tensions and just stuff like that. I just feel like there's a really high element of realism in the novel. Even though it isn't a realist text, it's very real. Like, you can see it happening in your own environment. You can see people associating this way in your own environment, in your own school. So that's something that I also think will make it really successful, because a lot of people will be able to associate with the novel on a broader scale, really, because they've each got some elements of themselves within those characters and within those settings. But let's just talk about that turn. That, like, that story arc, that turning point, just 360'd the whole set. It was instantaneous, and to be fair, it accurately represents how these things get out of control in society. Like a fight, someone can just be too hot and bothered and just get shoved the wrong way, and there you go, you've got a riot going on. So just that, ever since that happened, that turning point just got me hooked, and I couldn't put the book down. I think I sped through a good portion of it on my lunch break once at work, and then I was over halfway through the book, and it was really good. I really just enjoyed, ever since the first fight and the first plot twist happened, I was just was like, I love it, I'm obsessed. I really like the book. As I said, with it being so kind of real and connectable, it humanises stereotypes. So you have the stereotypical privileged white person that's transferred to a more ethnically diverse neighbourhood, and everyone thinks that they're well off, everyone thinks they've got life easy, everyone thinks that they've got privilege. But this kind of shows you the alternative side. So people who maybe, yes, they've got a white in their race, but they still have the hardships and the struggles as everybody else. So you don't realise how they struggle to make ends meet financially just like everybody else does, and just because they are privileged in their skin colour doesn't mean they automatically are rich or wealthy and have life easier for them. And likewise for people who are like ethnic or people who are black or whatever, doesn't automatically make them a thug, doesn't automatically make them unintelligent, illiterate, or anything like that, which is like anything derogatory. It just kind of banishes all of that, because Campbell goes on through her own kind of learning experience in that she realises that everybody, just, you can't judge them on a stereotype, and you can't judge a group of black lads sitting on the side of the street as someone that's going to beat you up, because they're not, they're just sitting there minding their own business. And it kind of gives her a societal awakening as to the way that society is broken and the way that it represents people. But yeah, it definitely, little interruption from the mama there, but it definitely rehumanises and adds a human element to these stereotypes that we often forget are so outrageous and so kind of 1% of the population. So I really liked that about the story. Centered around the real people of society, so not the activists that we always see on the news and the television, not the politicians that we also see making claims about society and everything. It's about the real people and how they are affected in these situations, and how, yes, there's a riot, and yes, it's for a political measure, but sometimes they can do more harm than good. So riots harm businesses, people get robbed, people get beaten up and hurt and have to take to hospital, and in that case it can do a lot more harm than good in making awareness for a situation, because it gives that situation like a bad rep as such, really. So I just think it's interesting how this novel plays on race politics in a very kind of, what's the word, like a very microscopic way, in the relationships between a few people rather than a whole group of people, and those few people represent society on a wider scale, which is something very clever about this. And I just really like the way that the characters interact with each other, how their relationships develop, how they develop as people, and how over the course of one evening they are completely different to the people they started off as, to the people they ended up with. And I just think it is incredible. That's it, that's the end. I just think it's really good, it's very clever, it's something that the youth of our nation should be exposed to. It's something everybody should read. It's just really good. That's all I can say. Published by Sourcebooks. I'll put the details of where you can probably get it in the UK down below if I can find it. Apologies if I can't. But yeah, this is my review of I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Kimberly Jones, and I think it's Gilly Seagull, or Gilly Seagull, apologies. And I have to say I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a 5 out of 5 I think for me. I can get over the colloquialisms and the language use because I can appreciate their effect and I can appreciate their intention. I'm not the target for that, but no, it's a very, very good book, and I recommend when this comes out on the 1st of October that you go and buy it. So this was the review for I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all of the good stuff down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.